Finishing up this section of sheetrock was great to see, but it made us realize a huge project we knew that we needed to get started, or it may never get done.
Hey y'all, and welcome back to Cajun Country Livin'.
Well, as you all know, we're falling massively behind on getting all this sheetrock taped and mudded and floated and all that good stuff, all that terminology that we don't know. So rather than bore you to tears watching us tape and mud all of this sheetrock, we're going to be taping and mudding sheetrock, but we're going to hit our 10 most frequently asked questions, and we're going to answer those and go into pretty good detail on them while we're doing this.
So y'all, happy Friday. Let's go.
So the first question that we're going to answer is, Lydia, you want to take this one?
Hit me.
Are y'all going to tape and mud your own sheetrock?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question. We are going to be doing all of the taping and mudding ourselves. There is a few reasons why we decided that we are going to handle all the mudding by ourselves. First thing is, it would cost an astronomical amount of money to be able to have somebody come in and do all this. Secondly, we love to learn new skills, so both of us are not scared of a little bit of mud. Heck, we took on a whole house project, so I promise you, mudding is the least of our worries. And I have a little bit of knowledge from watching my parents as contractors from whenever I was little on how to do this, so at least we do have a phone a friend. Overall, we are definitely able to handle this project.
Okay, not that I can see the future, but I know we're probably going to get this question, so why are you using that fiber mesh tape rather than paper tape?
So we did do research on this, obviously, because we did not know what we were doing. So the paper tape, you have to have your moisture exactly right, or else you're going to have a lot of bubbles in it. And for a professional, that is absolutely the way to go. But for us, not professionals, the fiber mesh tape is a lot more forgiving. It is a little bit more expensive, but we decided that we would go with a little bit more expensive over the mistakes of the bubbles because we would have absolutely had some. So we know that there's probably one common way to mud a wall, and of course that's not the way that we're going to be doing it. The way that we're going to handle this is we're going to kind of handle this backwards. So a lot of people slop all the mud on there, slick it off, and it looks fantastic, and then they go back and do a lot of the sanding. Our tactic is to use less mud and then just go back so that way we don't have as much sanding to do. Especially since we're living in here, we definitely want to minimize the type of dust. So in order to minimize that dust, we're gonna have to put on less mud, which means more layers, but like I said earlier, we're not in a rush to get it done, so it's not gonna be that big of a deal.
So we're just going to put on multiple thin coats, right?
Right. It's honestly funny to me how me and Jim can be doing the exact same thing and how we do it completely different. Every single thing that we do, we think about completely opposite of each other, which actually ends up being a good thing because then we can see stuff from two different points of view versus the exact same way.
Now don't get me wrong. We don't always end up at the same point of view to get to the point of view, but it always works out. You gotta find that common ground. It always works out somehow.
Question number 2. When are we going to install our HVAC system?
That is an outstanding question. We're gonna install our HVAC system as soon as we can. It's another one of those things, it's really pricey to get somebody to come do it. And the way we've laid out our house, whenever we put the air handler inside, we're gonna be able to lay the trunk line upstairs to feed each system in each room off of that trunk line. So we're gonna actually be able to get to everything that we need to get to be able to run the ductwork. Now the low voltage for the air handler to the outside unit, all that's already been ran. And the only ductwork that we really have to run before we can finish the drywall is gonna be the ductwork that is in the master bedroom. Once we get that ductwork run, we'll be able to finish the sheetrock in there, and then there'll be no holdup on the AC. The AC is one of those things that kind of got pushed to the back burner because we really don't need it. This house is so efficient. We're running heating and cooling this whole house on one window unit. Of course, we don't want to use the window unit long term, but it is air conditioning and heating, and it keeps this house super comfortable. As big as it is, it's hard to believe. For an example, it got down to, what, 15 degrees?
Right.
And the coldest this house got was 69.8 degrees. If there's one thing that we did right on this whole house, it was the spray foam investment. The insulation in this house is outstanding. I mean, there is no way we could have put one window unit in this whole big house and kept it climate controlled if we wouldn't have went through those efforts to making sure that it was really well insulated. And now for question number 3. Do you have house plans, and if so, can you share them?
So the simple answer to that would be no, we do not have house plans. Jim and I drew this up on Excel, and the reason that we didn't have somebody do them was because we knew that this was going to be constantly changing. There were so many little things to take into consideration that we knew that we didn't know at the time that we wanted to be able to go back and alter it and it still work out for us. So we did a lot of little things that made our house very simple, but it looks very complex. So something as simple as putting all the water sources on the exterior walls. The only water source that's not gonna be is our shower. It's the only drain pipe that is in the slab, and it's not even 12-ish feet long. So everything else is located outside of the slab. So for us, it just worked out better to do our plans ourselves.
And another reason that we come up with these plans by ourselves and didn't want to ask for help was because we really wanted to learn and we wanted to be able to do it for ourselves. We really felt like if we went to somebody and had these plans put together, that we might be influenced to change what our vision really was. And our vision was to have this big open space, have a simple layout, and it looked complex all at the same time. And we're pretty happy with how it's turning out.
Absolutely.
Question 4.
Lay it on me.
Are we close to the Gulf?
Or are we close to the Gulf of Mexico? And the answer to that is yes. But we are far enough north to where we fish in the fresh water. As you see in our videos, we do live really close to the swamp, and the swamp is fresh water. But like in the nets that we set for catfish, on occasion we do catch some saltwater fish, and that's how close we are. We're not really in brackish water, we are in fresh water, and the saltwater barrier is a little bit south of us, but we can be at the saltwater barrier in about 30 minutes.
This is just a personal question for me.
Okay.
That means geographically, we could have sharks in the water.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, I've heard those stories and seen those TV shows to where, I mean, they've had bull sharks way up in the Mississippi River. So if they can have bull sharks that far up, we could definitely have them back here, because I can assure you, we're not that far. And like I said before, we have caught saltwater fish back here.
We don't even have poisonous snakes where I was from.
It's probably too cold. Have a poisonous snake there, you have to have a jacket on. Okay, let's hear it for question number 5. Are there any alligators where you live?
That is a big, fat yes. Now they're not just crawling around in the yard all willy-nilly like everybody thinks that they are. Heck, I thought that whenever I moved here that I would see them everywhere. I've seen a total of 4 in the past 4 years. That's not to say that they don't travel through here, because whenever Jim was younger, this pond that we have right in front of the house was still here, and he had seen them in and out of there multiple times. Now they're not gonna come get you like a movie shows it, I promise you they ain't. But the other thing you gotta look out for down here is the snakes. I'm more concerned about a snake than I am an alligator, and I'm not scared of snakes, but the poisonous snakes down here are by the handful. So you got copperheads, ground rattlers, and actually, whenever we were building the form for this slab for the house, Jim and I were doing kind of like an assembly line. So I'd hold it and he'd screw, and then he'd move down, and it was just one right after another. So I was holding a 2x4 form, and then I went to move down, and whenever I moved down, Jim went to put a screw in, and about that time a ground rattler slithered right out from underneath there, so we're both lucky that we both didn't get bit. Question 6. Do we live in an area that floods often? And if so, why didn't we elevate our home?
That is an excellent question. And the answer to that question is that we live really close to the swamp, which is a flood area. And if you go just a little bit south of where we live, like 5 minutes south, the grade starts going down closer to sea level. But actually where we live is on a really high hill. The water would have to come up probably 60, 70 feet to ever reach here. And I can't really even think of any kind of natural occurring situation that could possibly ever get to that point. And if something did happen to make the water get to that point, our house would be the least of our worries, because we would have no neighbors. And now for question number 7. What are your plans with the porch? Are you gonna box it in, or are you gonna leave it open?
We are gonna close it off. We are also gonna close off the gable end and put some type of decorative wood or trim on there. We haven't really decided what we're gonna do. Got a suggestion the other day to put our logo up there. And as much as we love our Cajun Country Livin logo, I think that might be just a little too much love. But we are gonna come up with something really neat to do there. We just haven't figured out exactly what design we wanna do. Now with putting a ceiling up there, we are gonna be able to open ourselves up to maybe putting some ceiling fans up there if I can talk Jim into it. And along with closing off that porch, we still are gonna work over here on this 30 by 40 foot porch whenever the weather gets better. We need to still pour the foundation for it, obviously, but we are gonna close that one off too. I got question 8 for you.
Question number 8. Bring it on.
Are you going to continue videoing future projects?
Whenever we decided to start this channel, it was to develop our homestead. And this house is just the beginning. This is the first portion of developing this homestead. So the short answer is we will absolutely continue to video. The long answer is we have so many projects to get done to make this homestead turn into what we are looking for.
We've got plenty of things to bring you along with, from
fishing with soap
Yeah.
to developing our garden.
Building our barn, building the shops, building our power systems that's going to power this house. Because we're not going to leave this house on municipal power or water. This will be an off-grid, self-sustaining homestead when we're done.
Well, before you get ahead of yourself, that is question 9. How are we going to make our home an off-grid, sustainable house?
Well, it's funny that you ask, because we are on municipal power right now, and we are on municipal water. Even though we never claimed for this house to be built with off-grid power, this house will 100% end up that way. And the way we're going to do that is we are going to build a solar power generated power system. And we do have some plans to put in some water generation to backfeed also. And the goal is to have 2 or 3 different sources of power, and hopefully power that we don't need. That way we'll have a backup for our backup for our backup. And we will also, though, just to make sure we're perfectly clear, we will keep our municipal power available for us. We're still going to pay for that meter. That way, if we do lose power, or if we have to take our system down to do maintenance or whatever we have to do, all we have to do is rack back in the municipal power. Now, I know when you're talking about off-grid things, people are like, well, that's not off-grid. Well, neither is being off-grid in a sense if you're running on a generator. So I would rather pay the power company the 30, 40 bucks, whatever it is, for the few days that we're off while we're performing maintenance, than to go buy 50 gallons worth of fuel. So to me, doesn't make sense not to do it because we have it available. Now, if we didn't have it available, we'd do what we have to do.
One of the neat thing about the way that we've always handled this process is we started like a regular house would whenever it comes to the power and the water. And the way that we're gonna move is just slowly off that course. And this is really gonna show everybody that you could get to this point.
Yeah, we're gonna wean ourselves off of the power rather than starting out and have all the struggles and you know, these people that does that my hat is off to them because they really face some hard times. And it's not easy doing that. We're just fortunate that we do have power to get this done and then to wean ourselves slowly off of it. But if you'll notice, we put LEDs, we put everything that we can think of into this home, trying to be smart and efficient. To the induction countertop, all those little bitty things, over time they add up. Because those don't pull as much power as the old standard heated coil stoves and things like that. Now, as far as the water goes, we have several different ideas about that. There is a well on this land, so we could use well, we could do a water catchment system, and we're not 100% there yet on deciding on what we're gonna do. I do like the water catchment idea, just because most of the things that I've seen, if you have gravity head pressure coming from a tank, you don't have to have as much power to supply the water pressure to your house. And I really like that idea.
The shock that everyone gets when we tell them we are building our own home is the most satisfying feeling. The idea that we have the mindset of, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we are going to get this done, has led us to success. Have we had bumps along the way? Absolutely. Have we failed? Absolutely. But have we learned? Absolutely. Every day we get a little better than before, and that adds up. We have both always had the grit to push through no matter the obstacles that have faced us, but having each other to build a future, nothing can stop us.
All right, y'all. Question 10.
When are y'all gonna have another baby? Well, look, y'all, we have had a great week. We got a lot done, and we thank y'all for tuning in this week and checking us out. If y'all been watching us for a while and you're enjoying our content, please hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate that so much.
And we will see y'all Wednesday, Cajun family.